Here is something nobody tells you about the human nervous system. Your body knows the difference between genuine safety and the kind of fragile calm that exists right before everything falls apart. You know that feeling where the house is quiet, but the quiet doesn't feel peaceful. It feels like everyone's holding their breath, where nothing's actively wrong, but nothing feels right either. Where you are technically fine, but your body is screaming at you that something is deeply, fundamentally off. Even though you can't point to a single concrete thing that justifies the alarm bells going off in your chest. That's not anxiety. That's not you being paranoid or overly sensitive. That's your nervous system. That's your nervous system recognizing that your mind is trying to desperately to deny. That calm and safety are not the same thing. I want you to think about something for a second. Be really honest with yourself. When you are with your partner, does your body relax? Or does it brace? Do you feel yourself softening, opening, letting your guard down? Or do you feel yourself monitoring, calculating, staying just alert enough to navigate whatever might come next? Because there is a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from living in a relationship that's calm but not safe. Where you are not fighting, where you are not arguing, where there is no obvious drama, but you also can't fully exhale. You can't fully rest. You are living in this state of what I call high functioning hypervigilance, where everything looks fine from the outside, but internally you are running a threat assessment algorithm 24/7. And you don't even realize you are doing it anymore. So remember when we talked about constantly explaining yourself in the last episode? About that exhaustion of always being on trial? Well, this is what happens to your body when it can't trust that your emotional experience will be respected. It stays alert. It stays guarded. It trades genuine safety for the appearance of calm. So by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why your body won't relax even when nothing's actively wrong. What the difference between calm and safety actually is, and whether the relationship you are in is one where real safety is even possible. What actually happened? So let me tell you about a case, Grace and Nathan. Yes, they were Grace and Nathan. And I need you to pay very close attention to it, because this pattern is so subtle that most people don't recognize it until they have been living in it for years. Grace came to see me. And the first thing she said, sitting down across me with this look of complete confusion on her face, she said, I don't understand why I am so anxious all the time when nothing is actually wrong. And I asked her, what is nothing's actually wrong meant in practice for you? What her relationship actually felt like day to day. And she said that we don't fight anymore. We haven't had a real argument in probably 2 years. The house is quiet. We are both polite to each other. Everything is calm. But the way she said that word calm, there was something hollow in it, something resigned. So I asked her, when you come home at the end of the day, does your body relax when you see him? Or does it tense up, even just a little? There was this long pause. Then she said, so quietly I almost didn't even hear it, it tenses up. She said it. And I hate that. I hate that. I feel that way because he's not doing anything wrong. He's not yelling. He's not being mean. He's just there. And I walk into the house and immediately I'm scanning. I'm reading his mood. I'm trying to figure out what kind of evening it's going to be, whether he's going to be distant or engaged, whether I need to be cheerful or quiet, whether I can talk about my day or whether it's safer to just ask about his. And I'm doing all of this in the first 30 seconds of walking through the door. I don't even realize I'm doing it until I'm lying in the bed exhausted from a day where nothing actually happened. And there it was. The difference between calm and safety. Right there in her body's response to coming home. Calm meant no conflict, no raised voices, no obvious tension. Safety would have meant her nervous system that it could actually rest, could stop monitoring, could trust that she could be herself without consequence. When Nathan came in for the session, I asked him if he noticed that Grace seemed tense around him. And he looked genuinely surprised. He said, no, I think she's fine. We have gotten to a really good place where we don't fight about anything anymore. It's peaceful now. And I realized he was equating the absence of conflict with the presence of connection. He thought because they were not arguing, they must be okay. So when what was actually happening was that Grace had learned to manage his moods so effectively that the conflict had gone underground. He had moved from their interactions into her nervous system, where she was now carrying all of it alone. So here is what I have learned after years of doing this work. Some of the calmest relationships are the least safe, because calm can be achieved through control, through suppression, through one person learning to make themselves so small and so manageable that they never trigger the other person's dysregulation. And that's not peace, that's not safety, that's captivity with good behavior. What this looks like in real life. And here is how you know you are living in that calm without safety. I'm going to read a few patterns for you. Pattern number 1. Your body won't relax even when nothing's wrong. You are lying in bed next to your partner, the room is quiet, no one's angry, no one is upset, and yet your body is rigid. Your jaw is clenched. Your breathing is shallow, and if someone asked you why you are tense, you couldn't point to anything specific. Because nothing's happening, except your body knows what your mind keeps trying to rationalize it away. That this calm is conditional, that it exists because you are carefully managing your behavior, not because you are genuinely safe to be yourself. I had a client named Julia. She told me, I realized I only fully relax when he's not home, when I have the house to myself and I don't have to monitor anything. And that's when I knew something was fundamentally wrong, because I should be able to relax more with my partner, not less. And that's exactly what happens with many of you watching this video. Then comes pattern number 2. You are constantly reading the room. You have developed this almost supernatural ability to detect micro shifts in your partner's mood. You can tell within seconds of seeing them whether they are in a good mood or in a bad mood, whether they are open or closed, whether it's safe to engage or safer to give them space. And you adjust your entire presentation of self based on that reading. You become whoever you need to be in that moment to keep the calm intact. Psychiatrist Bessel Kolk, who wrote the book The Body Keeps the Score, talks about how trauma survivors develop what he calls hypervigilance to threat cues, where they are constantly scanning their environment for signs of danger. And he's talking about people who have survived war zones and abuse. And I see this exact same mechanism in people who are in relationships that are calm but not safe. They have learned that their well-being depends on their ability to accurately predict and manage another person's emotional state. Then there is pattern number 3. You are performing calm rather than feeling it. Performing. You have gotten so good at appearing relaxed, at keeping your voice even, at maintaining this facade of everything being fine, that you have almost convinced yourself that it's real. Except your body knows it's not. Your body knows that you are using an enormous amount of energy to maintain this performance of calm. That you are walking around with your nervous system in overdrive while your face shows nothing but pleasant neutrality. I had a client named Marcus told me that my therapist asked me to notice when I was clenching my fists. And I started paying attention, and I realized I was doing it constantly. Just walking around the house with my hands in fists. I had no idea. I thought I was fine. I thought we were fine, but apparently my body disagreed. Note it down if it happens with you. Then comes pattern number 4. The calm breaks when you try to be real. This is a telltale sign. Whenever you try to express an authentic need, an honest feeling, a genuine preference that might disrupt the equilibrium, the calm shatters immediately. You get to meet with defensiveness or coldness or silent treatment or this subtle withdrawal that makes it very clear that the calm only exists as long as you stay within very specific boundaries of acceptable behavior. The attachment researcher, a very famous one, Allan Schore, who studies how our nervous systems so co-regulate with each other, he would say that you are in a relationship where your partner's nervous system requires you to be regulated for them to stay regulated. Which means you can't actually be dysregulated by yourself. You can't be upset or anxious or overwhelmed without them treating it as an attack, as a problem, as something that needs to be shut down immediately to restore their calm. Now coming on to pattern number 5. You feel more anxious in the good moments. This is going to sound paradoxical because and you have to see if it resonates. Sometimes when things are going well, you are having a nice evening or a pleasant weekend, you feel more anxious, not less, more anxious. Because you know it's fragile. You know it could shift in any moment. And part of you is just waiting for it to shift so you can stop anticipating it and just deal with whatever comes next. A very famous neuroscientist, Stephen Porges, whose work on polyvagal theory was very famous. We have talked about this before, explains this very perfectly. He says that safety is not the absence of threat. It's the presence of cues that tell your nervous system you can let your guard down. And when those cues are inconsistent, unreliable, your nervous system stays in what he calls mobilized defense. Even during moments that look calm, because it can't trust the calm will last. So why this happens psychologically? Why do some people end up in relationships that are calm but not safe? And more importantly, why do they stay in them? It comes down to what I call the confusion of absence with presence. And it operates on 3 interconnected levels. Level number 1, the misunderstanding of what safety actually is. So most people think safety means the absence of bad things, not yelling, no violence, no obvious cruelty. And by that definition, a calm relationship feels safe because nothing overly harmful is happening. But the trauma therapist Pete Walker, who wrote Complex PTSD from Survivor to Thriving, he makes this crucial distinction that there is negative safety, which is the absence of threat, and positive safety, which is the presence of trust, attunement, and responsiveness. The felt sense that you can be vulnerable without consequences. You can have negative safety, no one is hurting you, without having positive safety, without having the actual conditions that allow a nervous system to move out of defense mode and into what Porges calls the ventral vagal state, where connection and rest becomes possible. And most people in calm but not safe relationships have negative safety. And they have convinced themselves that that should be enough, that they are asking for too much if they also want positive safety, want actual attunement, want to be able to relax instead of just avoiding conflict. Level number 2, the adaptation of conditional peace. When you are in a relationship where calm is contingent on your good behavior, where peace exists only as long as you don't make waves, you don't have needs, don't express emotions that might destabilize the other person, you adapt. You learn the rules, you figure out how to maintain the calm. And after a while, that adaptation feels normal. Pia Melody, a very famous psychologist whose work we have referenced before as well, talks about how people who grow up in a dysfunctional families learn what she calls survival roles. Ways of being that minimize threat and maximize the possibility of getting needs met. And those same mechanisms get activated in adult relationships where safety is conditional. You learn to be whatever keeps the peace. And eventually you forget there was even another option. Level number 3, the biological imperative to rationalize. And here is something really, really important, guys. Your brain has vested interest in convincing you that your relationship is safe even when your body is screaming that it's not. Because leaving, disrupting, acknowledging the danger, all of that is destabilizing. It requires energy and courage and resources you might not have. So your brain does what brains do. It rationalizes, it minimizes. It says, it's not that bad at least. They are not abusive. We don't fight anymore. Things are calm now. Leon Festinger, a very famous psychologist, called this cognitive dissonance. The psychological discomfort that arises when your beliefs don't match your experience. And he found that people will go to extraordinary lengths to reduce that discomfort, including changing their perception of reality to match their beliefs, rather than changing their beliefs to match reality. So if you believe you are in a good relationship and your body is telling you you are not safe, it's actually less disorienting to decide your body is wrong. That you are just anxious, just too sensitive, just not appreciating how much better things are now that you are not fighting. And then it is to acknowledge that calm without safety is not actually an improvement. It's just a different kind of suffering. So the ghost belief, the lie that keeps you trapped, the ghost belief that keeps people trapped in calm but not safe relationship is this: if we are not fighting, we must be okay. And I need you to really hear this. The absence of conflict is not the same as the presence of safety. You can have a relationship that's perfectly calm because you have learned exactly how to move, how to speak, how to be, in order to never trigger disruption. That's not intimacy. That's not connection. That's survival skills masquerading as relationship skills. Real safety, the kind your nervous system actually needs in order to thrive, doesn't come from learning how to avoid conflict. It comes from knowing you can have conflict, you can be messy, you can need things, you can feel things, and the relationship won't implode. Your partner won't withdraw their love. The foundation won't crack. Sue Johnson, a very famous psychologist who developed emotionally focused therapy, EFTs we normally do, talks about how secure attachment isn't about ever or never fighting. It's about knowing you can fight and repair. Knowing you can be upset and be comforted. Knowing you can be imperfect and still be loved. And she says the question that determines whether a relationship is safe isn't do we fight? It's are you there for me when I need you? When you are in a calm but not safe relationship, the answer to that question is complicated because they are there as long as you don't need them in ways they are inconvenient. As long as your needs don't destabilize them. As long as your emotions don't require them to do anything uncomfortable. And the moment you need them in a real way, in a way that asks them to stretch or grow or to be uncomfortable, the calm dissolves. And you are reminded that their presence is conditional, that their calm is more important than your safety. And here's what you need to understand. You can't heal in a relationship where you can't be hurt, where being hurt means losing the connection, where your pain is treated as a disruption of their peace rather than an invitation to deeper intimacy. Martin Buber, a very famous philosopher, wrote about the difference between what he called seeming and being, where seeming is the performance of relationship, looking like you are connected, looking like you are fine, and being is the actual vulnerable, messy, imperfect reality of showing up as you are. Calm but not safe relationships are built on seeming, on both people performing a version of okayness that remains the fragile piece. As long as you are both willing to keep performing, the relationship can continue indefinitely. But you will never actually know each other. You will never actually be safe with each other. You will just be two people living parallel lives in a very quiet house. So what actually matters now? What do you do if you are living in calm but not safety? Here's your path forward. Tonight, you have to do the body scan. Tonight, when you are with your partner, I want you to do a simple check-in with your body. Not with your thoughts, not your rationalizations, your actual physical body. Are your shoulders up around your ears? Is your jaw clenched? Is your breathing shallow? Are you monitoring their mood without even realizing it? And if the answer is yes, if your body is in a state of vigilance, even though nothing's actively wrong, don't dismiss it. Don't tell yourself you are being irrational. That's information. That's your nervous system telling you what your mind is trying to deny, by the way. That's what you're going to do tonight. Then what are you going to do this week? Test the calm. At some point of this week, I want you to disrupt the calm intentionally. Not in a destructive way, obviously, but in an honest way. Express a need you have been suppressing. Share a feeling you have been hiding. Say something real that you have been keeping to yourself because you know it might create tension, and then pay attention to what happens. Can the relationship hold it? Does your partner move toward you or away from you? Does the calm flex to accommodate your realness? Or does it shatters because it was never actually stable? It was just the absence of you being fully present. Do it this week. Then what you need to do this month, the safety inventory, make a list. So actually write it down. Actually, all the ways you modify yourself to maintain the calm. The things you don't say, the needs you don't express, the feelings you keep hidden, the parts of yourself that you have learned to suppress. And at the end of the month, look at that list and ask yourself, is this sustainable? Is this who I want to be? Is a relationship where I have to be this small in order to keep the peace actually worth keeping? If nothing changes, the recognition. If after 90 days of trying to bring more of yourself into the relationship, the calm still can't hold you, if you are still walking on eggshells, if your body still won't relax, then you need to face the truth that this relationship might be calm, but it's not safe. And calm without safety is just captivity with a better PR. And you have to decide, are you willing to spend your life performing a version of yourself that keeps the peace, or do you want to find out what it feels like to be with someone who can hold all of you? The messy parts and the difficult parts and the inconvenient parts of you without the relationship dissolving into chaos. Because that exists. The kind of safety exists. And you won't find it by staying somewhere that requires you to be perpetually manageable. So look, I know how confusing it is to have a relationship that looks fine. The other people might even envy, where there is no yelling, no fighting, no obvious problems, and yet you can't shake this feeling that something is deeply, fundamentally wrong. And your body isn't lying to you, please, it's not. Your nervous system isn't being dramatic. That knot in your stomach, that tension in your shoulders, that inability to fully exhale, that's not anxiety. That's clarity. That's your wisest self trying to tell you that calm is not the same as safety. That peace maintained through suppression is not actually peace. It's just a very quiet kind of suffering. So if you are living in a relationship where everything looks fine but your body won't relax, where you are not fighting but you are also not free, where the house is calm but you are not okay, trust that. Trust that your body knows the difference between absence of conflict and the presence of safety. And trust that you deserve both, not just calm, but the actual safety that makes the calm real. So if your body won't relax even when nothing is wrong, I want you to just comment, can't relax. Let me know you are here and you are not crazy for feeling about this. So if this video felt personal, it's because it touched a pattern, not a personality. Clarity doesn't tell you what to do. It helps you stop lying to yourself. This is season 1, the collapse arc. Episode 11 is coming. I'll see you there.